let's delve into the mailbag. Where we starting off?
Okay, here we go. If Nebraska loses to Iowa and ends the season 5-7, what are the chances they're one of the 5-7 teams to get invited to a bowl?
I think it's just too early to say until we see how the week plays out, because I think there's a ton of teams that kind of fall in this base camp of 5-7, 6-6, but 6 potential. The parity has never been more in the Big Ten and other leagues this year, where I think there's just a plethora of teams. What we do know is Nebraska's APR guys is ranked 66th. So not bad, not great.
Not great. So I've looked at it. All I can do is say, piggyback off Sean. It's hard to tell right now, Abby.
Like nobody can give you a clean. I mean, you could go through and pick but again, then there's the James Madison and Jacksonville State angles. They can go to bowl games, but they can't play in conference title games.
Are we all in agreement though that ends? I guess it ends the streak, right? If Nebraska, it ends the 6-year streak of not.
Yeah, it's a
no asterisk or anything. No asterisk. No.
I mean, Mike Riley's team went with 5-7. They beat a ranked team in a bowl game.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure
get to a bowl, but I think there's if you go by the APR rankings, and I take this data from Jack Mitchell, radio personality here in town, he listed about 15 or 16 teams that are ahead of Nebraska currently in the APR that are right around 4 or 5 wins. And so to get to 5-7, you would need 4 fewer of those 16 teams to win.
Oh, there you go.
So big long shot, including there's a couple that are 17.5 point favorites. So not looking good.
Probably not happening.
Too long didn't read. Not
There's
looking
your
good.
answer. Probably not happening. Sean,
what do you got next?
Why is Emmit Johnson still not getting the touches after weeks of Rule and Satterfield saying that he needs to get more?
He's getting the touches. I mean,
got 13 carries against Wisconsin.
I mean,
yeah, they're just not running a lot of plays.
Well, what they do is they rotate those guys. They really you seldom see a Nebraska running back get 4 straight carries, 5 straight carries right now for whatever reason.
Johnson gets 67% of the reps. That's what he played in the game.
Okay,
he's the third down guy too. So every passing down, he's out there 90% of the time, and then the true carries. It's a fairly good split. I mean, Anthony Grant is no slouch, so they still want to give him carries too.
Yeah, and I guess the thing I'd say is those 3 running backs, the top 3 with Fleeks added to the other 2, their legs are live. They look good at this point. I give Barthel credit for that. Now, you could ride a guy a little more like Emmit Johnson. You could ride him and get him 22, 23 carries. But what would his legs look like right now? We saw last year when they rode Grant hard, you saw the legs.
Indiana Rutgers, that little stretch there.
Yeah, you saw legs. You saw him dole out. He doled out. Those guys are still live, man. They're those guys. I'm not saying they're the best backs in the world, but they really run hard. All 3 of them. I love that part.
Emmit Johnson has some really good cuts.
He's pretty good. He's good in a phone booth. He just runs hard. Runs all the time hard.
Okay. Should Rule get more credit than he does for Nebraska's defensive improvement this season?
I mean, there's a lot of veterans they returned. I think he should get credit for the plan that they put in place for strength and conditioning and nutrition to develop players. The emphasis on depth, playing a lot of guys. And Tony White obviously brought the scheme. So I think it's a lot of people that have helped this group play well. But they've played a lot of guys and they've developed well.
One thing Rule himself noted on Monday was everywhere he's been, he's had a good defense. And usually they have a middle of the pack offense. If they could get Nebraska's offense to be middle of the pack, just think how good they'd be this year. But so that's kind of been his hallmark. And I think he prides himself on the defense that his programs play and how he's able to build that. Obviously, Tony White's kind of the schematic mastermind behind that, but I think the core philosophies of how they go about defense, how they help their defense with their offensive play calling, I think that's kind of been a hallmark of Rule for a long time.
And how they practice.
Yeah,
I mean, they hit.
Yep.
This is a program now that hits. We've talked about this program. The previous 2 coaches, Riley and Frost, there wasn't a lot of hitting in practice. They hit a lot, and I think it's helped the defense. The thing I'd add is, Rule does get a lot of credit because he hired the staff, and it's not only White and Rule. It's the entire staff. I think that staff has done a really good job.
Knighton's been a great hire.
Yeah, they mesh. I think that the defensive staff meshed really well. Which of those guys would you say is a drawback? None of them.
Dvorak was kind of a name you're like you didn't know much
he
about.
Gets overlooked, but the linebackers
look what they've done.
Yeah,
I mean, he's done a great job.
Mhm.
Yeah. All three units have played well.
What do you got next, Abby?
Okay. Jordan from Twitter says that it feels like the entertainment in Memorial Stadium during the breaks is kind of geared towards the children or the elderly fans. Do you feel like this kills the environment and the energy for, the team, the student section, the recruits?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of hit on this in the post game show. Like when you're in Madison or we were in Minneapolis this year, just the in-game environment, Colorado too. I mean, they know how to get the crowd going, and there's not as much commercialization built into their game day experience. Where Nebraska, there's a lot more commercialization, added corporate stuff added in there. But there's things I just wish they, just play fun music. Like, I mean, Wisconsin in unbelievable environments, and they don't overthink it.
No, they don't.
Let's play a song that we know everybody's going to have fun to, not try to come up with some Irish song and jam the lyrics down and make the fan base learn this song for 5 years. And we still don't know the words to it.
I think they also have been playing the same songs there for like 20 years. So everybody knows they kind of got a routine going. So the sing-alongs kind of happen because everybody's used to it. So maybe that's with your Irish song. Maybe in 20 years, everybody will learn the lyrics.
Yeah, but the Killers is like on the radio. Everyone knows the Kill. Like,
well, yeah, Neil Diamond and
Buttercup. I mean, some of these songs are
Buttercup.
fun.
Yeah, and again, it's a party, and I don't know. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't even say it's like an alcohol sales thing. They don't sell alcohol in
Camp Randall.
So
Wisconsin. Would you say Wisconsin seems to gear their music more towards the students? Is that what you're saying?
some
It seems to me
They have probably
they play a lot of oldies and classic rock too.
That's true.
You yourself said this is the best music selection in the
Well,
Big Ten.
I've noticed it, oddly enough. This is odd. Now, I don't notice as much of the in-game stuff as you guys do, but their pre-game music is what I've noticed about Wisconsin is the best. I don't know who selects their.
Well, pregame the
stuff.
players kind of select that, don't they?
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know.
Here's another thing too. There's a way bigger student section at all those stadiums too. Nebraska's tucked away in the corner. Get more students, you're going to have more energy.
Yeah, the
That's just
Wisconsin
reality.
student section's a sight to behold.
Yeah,
It is.
I mean, it's a massive.
That's
piece.
what it comes down to me. I mean,
That's why I think they gear their music.
if Nebraska had an entire end zone full of students, their energy would be a lot more.
Like they might
on par
have
with that.
20,000 students in there, and Nebraska has 12 or 13.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. I mean, it's a lot more students.
Says
I
it all
thought
right
for
there.
sure you're going to say, Sip, what do you think? You're elderly. Thanks for your restraint, Sean.
As the resident old,
yeah.
At Wisconsin, though, the press box literally shook at least twice during the game because of all the bouncing and jump. Now, the jump around obviously is its own deal, but
then Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah, Cotton Eye Joe it bounced.
So let's not praise the music too much. They played Cotton Eye Joe.
They played Cotton Eye
yeah,
Joe.
but that still gets you going.
It's like a jock jams.
Yeah, and it did bounce.
But it bounced.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I don't notice the in-game stuff as much as you guys do. I don't. I don't know.
One thing, and
tweeting
showing the highlights in the middle of the game of other games, like that doesn't do much for me.
You don't like that, do you?
Well,
No, I don't either.
It's a buzzkill. Like I just don't know, like how showing like the K-State KU highlight does anything for the in-game environment. People now can check their phones and see those scores. I just don't.
The highlights were cool in 1985.
Like you might, but use that to play a pump up, get the crowd going.
Or even 1995, they were cool.
Yeah, look at the jump around. Look at.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right, final question, Abby
that.
Barmore.
What is your favorite Black Friday Nebraska football memory?
You know, my early days,
Like that one.
going out to Colorado, just those are my first memories of covering Nebraska on Black Friday. I went to all those games, being there in 01. It's not really a great memory, but it was the fall of the dynasty. I mean, that's kind of where it began.
01.
The 01 game in Boulder, and
Yeah, it wasn't a great memory.
I don't think you really realized what that day meant for Nebraska. But since that day, Nebraska football over 20 years ago has only been ranked in the AP top 5 poll for a grand total of 1 week.
Whoa.
But Black Friday,
Jeez. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I just remember how, you know, it used to be with Osborne, Solich, you didn't have to worry about much. But for us, we've spent a lot of Black Fridays worrying about coaches and getting fired and
Just craziness.
scrambling back, pulling up to the football coaches' offices on Saturday at 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. to see if guys are clear. I mean, so lately Black Friday has been kind of a stressful time, like where you don't really have a lot of time, but probably the Sue interception against Colorado and the Henry field goal are probably the two of the best
that
memories.
was amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, just go down the list, like Bo saying, if he wants to fire me, like that sort of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. That was, I remember
Rex
that.
Burkhead in a 50-mile-an-hour wind carrying it like 38 times.
No, that was the 12
was
game. The 2011 game in Lincoln's when he broke the record.
That's right.
And the 2012 game is when he played just the second half.
That's right.
And they won 13-7.
And it was the coldest I've ever been.
Yeah.
It was about as cold a game as you can remember. What I remember most about Black Friday, and this is a favorite. It's kind of a favorite memory, and it was I overuse the word fascinating, but it was fascinating. It was when Bo said what Rob said when he said, "If you don't want me here, fire me." You know, that whole thing. First of all, it didn't make a huge impression on me because I was so used to Bo saying things like that at that point that somebody literally had to tell me, "Sipple, that was big." But then I always remember talking to him after that game, and he wanted to talk. You could tell he wanted to talk, and I was driving this loop. I just kept driving while he was talking, and it was up Vine to 48th, then down O to 27th, and then I just kept making that big loop. And at one point, now this was awkward. It was really awkward, and you guys have been through this because you've been in these kind of situations. He said, "They're not going to fire me," you know, which was significant news at the time, but I couldn't really report it. You know, he just dropped it in the conversation. "Oh no, they're not going to fire me," which at that point was like, "Oh, they're not."
Seemed inevitable.
I was
at
like,
that point.
Are you sure about that?"
Yeah.
But he was sure. It was 2013. He didn't fire him. He goes, "Oh no, they're not going to fire me." So he knew at that point they weren't going to fire him.
He dared I course.
Yeah, but he knew already on that Friday night because he said it very definitively. I was like, "You sure about that?" He goes, "Oh yeah."
I still can't. I mean, the thought of like the 2014 season when they just beat Iowa to go 9-3, and Bo was going in there to meet with I Course on Saturday.
Yeah,
or it might have been Sunday.
I think it was Sunday, Sean. It was
and
Sunday.
The coaches were getting ready to go out to recruit.
It was absolutely Sunday.
The coaches were getting ready to go out to recruit, and I Course fired him. Like he didn't. Bo didn't know that was coming.
No, he didn't. I don't think he did.
And that was interesting to me because then like the email dropped like right before church started, and I turned around. I'm like, let's get to work.
Yeah, fun times.
All right. Well,
yeah, it'll be a little
memories.
I got to think it'll be more calm this